Hi, it's Jackleen. Happy soon to be eclipse season. We have a lunar eclipse in Pisces coming up on Sunday, September 7th. And I'm recording this on Wednesday, and you'll probably see it on Thursday, depending on whether you're a YouTube or Patreon subscriber, or you're just getting my regular email, or who knows how you find it. But anyway, you found it, and you found it for a reason. So I want to talk about this eclipse and how it relates to the next eclipse. A little bit, we're going to go back a little bit and talk about the most recent new moon, which is very instrumental in this eclipse cycle, but it's primarily going to be about this Pisces lunar eclipse. And then I'm going to be doing a couple of other talks this week, one with my friend Jill on her podcast, A Little Bit of Woo Woo, and another with another podcaster. So I'll give you that information as well. So anyway, let's talk about Sunday's September 7th lunar eclipse, and that is in Pisces, which means a lunar eclipse is a full moon on steroids, right? So it is a full moon powered up. We had an eclipse cycle a year ago, this very same dynamic of the Pisces Virgo. Of course, the sun is in Virgo, as we know, and the moon is directly opposite. That is what a full moon is, and what a lunar eclipse is, a full moon on steroids. So, and it is at 16 degrees Pisces and Virgo. And we'll talk about the Sabian symbol for that. We'll talk about all kinds of great things around this, but it is a wonderful, interesting time. Let's take a pause and think about where you were a year ago, and what are the things that you wanted to accomplish a year ago, and how are you doing on that? And I'm not saying that to make you feel guilty if you haven't accomplished everything. I certainly haven't accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish in the year. We don't realize how much, how short a year is and how long a day is. And that's actually the theme right now of this Virgo-Pisces dynamic, or this duality. Because we've started, I'm going to go back to the last new moon, which was at 0 degrees Virgo. Now, Virgo is the sign of cleaning, organizing, detail work. It's not the sexiest sign in the zodiac. I have a Virgo moon, I know that, but you really can't have all the hot cars and, big money without having things lined up in a Virgo kind of way. You really can't have all that excitement, that partying, that sexy times, and if you don't have things. Your house should be clean, right? Your files should be organized. That's what Virgo's about. It gives us a little bit more patience to deal with those things that we probably have been putting off all year. And so this isn't actually a really good time to be doing those things, particularly starting at the last new moon. If you didn't hear my video on that, you can go back if you want more details on that, because that was all about setting up your systems, right? Getting things in order, getting all your ducks in order, new habits, particularly habits of, adding something to your schedule, your diet, whatever, right? It's adding. And then when the full moon comes, which is this lunar eclipse, full moon on steroids again, you take things away. So if you want to reduce weights or clutter or emotional baggage, this is a good time to focus on those habits of elimination, especially because the eclipse energy superpowers it, okay? Particularly if you set yourself up, you kind of have already set your goals. And if you haven't, this would be a great time to set your goals for what you want to release during this time. I suggest, because we're in a Virgo cycle, the sun is in Virgo. We had that new moon a couple of weeks ago at the 0 degree, and I talked about the 0 and the 29th degree, which we're going to have the next new moon, which is a solar eclipse, at the 29th degree. So we're going to go full circle in Virgo. So you can get a lot done, because while the year is fast, the day is long. That's going to be a little bit of our theme during this eclipse cycle. So do those boring things, set your timer for 20 minutes on, and then maybe 5 minutes off to kind of give yourself a little bit of a break, because incremental progress is the rule of the day when we're talking about Virgo. It's slow and steady wins the race every single time. It's those atomic habits, right? I like that book, and that idea that if you just improve a tiny bit, you're going to get where you're going. It's like being in a revolving restaurant. If you've ever been in a revolving restaurant, I was in one in New York at the top of the Marriott, and it was very beautiful because you're sitting there and you're looking out, and then you eat something and you look up and you're in a completely different place, right? And so it moves. If you're a little bit queasy, maybe don't do that. But this is sort of what happens when you don't even notice the progress until you've come full circle, and that will be the next in 2 weeks from this lunar eclipse. We're going to have a solar eclipse, and that's just a wonderful point of manifestation, right? You can set a goal around the lunar eclipse. Particularly, I would like to release this so I can do this, right? So I was about to say, before I got off on a tangent, you want to set goals around the area of health. That's a real Virgo thing. And we're going to also delve into the Pisces. Virgo and Pisces are, two sides of the same coin, which is the creativity. And I'm going to talk about the Sabian symbol in a minute. So creative goals as well. If you have something that you do that's creative, put goals around that, but do it in a Virgoic or systematic manner, right? If your goals like mine, I write poetry, sending it off, making the time to write, revision. Revision is a huge thing to do during a Virgo-inspired time, which is what we're in right now. So set aside some time for revision of your work. That can be whatever you're writing, however you're communicating. Virgo is the sign of writing. So if you are a writer, set some writing goals, or communicator of any stripe, right? Set some communications related goals. Virgo is ruled by the planet Mercury, but it's the quieter expression, the more introverted expression of Mercury. And which brings me to almost brings me to the Sabian symbol. So health goals, set your health goals, set your writing or communications goals. Who do you want to contact? Maybe that's networking, however you want to do it. But again, those sort of quieter, introspective times where you're working on communication kind of alone in the back room as opposed to out on stage. Even if you're someone who does get up on stage, you might find a lot more, I'm writing my material now, as opposed to I'm performing my material. Okay, so health, organization, clean house, all that kind of stuff falls under the domain of Virgo. What you want to avoid around this lunar eclipse, which is going to happen, I did mention that, I think 11:09 a.m. Pacific here on the Pacific Coast on Sunday, September 7th. I'm going to look at if that is a Sunday. And starting then, we're in that kind of waning moon period. The moon's as big as it can get, and then it wanes. For the next 2 weeks, during that time, you're primarily focused on releasing, letting go, catharsis, emotional stuff, anything related to health, anything that's unhealthy that's standing in your way, systematic ways to eliminate, reduce, or declutter in any of these areas. So the Sabian symbol is in the quiet of her, and I want to say her because everyone is masculine in this, right? In the quiet of her study, a creative individual experiences a flow of inspiration. So what needs to happen to get to that flow of inspiration? Well, you would like a clean study, right? You would like to know where everything is. You'd have a notebook by your bed. I know we all have phones today, and I occasionally have to use that, but I like to have pen and paper because I'm old school, and so that's how I like to write things out, and perhaps it will help you to kind of be a little bit more old school right now about how you receive your inspiration. So have pen and paper around. Have your phone if you need that, or a recorder or something to record your insights. So however you want to do it. But cultivate those boring, tiny, incremental habits that help you be set up to receive the creative downloads when they come in. To be ready for your opportunities. And this is both those quiet internal opportunities and those other opportunities where you're meeting with a big wig, you're on the elevator, and you get that opportunity to make your elevator pitch or whatever. Those opportunities will come up too. Preparation, that Boy Scout motto of be prepared, that is so Virgo, right? So if you are prepared, you are going to meet with opportunities during this wonderful window of opportunity that I call the magical gateway between eclipses. And it's really not that magical because a lot of other crap happens, right? We get unexpected events. I used to have floods every time there was an eclipse when I first bought my condo years ago, and I think every time there's an eclipse, there's something floods the washer, the toilet, whatever. So those kind of things happen. So we can, if you listen to me a couple of weeks ago, I said, have your insurances ready, have all the little things you need ready, because we're going into this eclipse cycle. Everything you might, think you're gonna need, maybe put the baby wipes in your car, put, the first aid kit, all those things, so that you're prepared, not only for yourself, because another one of those goals you want to have is a service goal. So to do some volunteer work, that is so Virgo and Pisces as well. Again, we're talking about that Virgo-Pisces dynamic, the two sides of that coin, right? So we want to be able to help others during this time, or help and serve a cause that's going to help a lot of others. So it's really about devotion is something that's very Virgo. Virgo is kind of like the quiet monk, the devotee. So you want to do something, whatever your spirituality, or maybe it's not a spirituality. Maybe it's just, I have a vision of the world, and this is what it looks like, and I'm going to do small things. Again, it doesn't have to be the big life-changing event until it is. And you may have that $1 million idea, or that world-changing idea during this time if you've set yourself up for success using these Virgo principles. Principles of time. Again, the Pomodoro technique I like a lot. I think almost everyone has a little bit of ADHD in some way, or ADD, whatever you want to say, in that you can't focus for long periods of time usually, unless you're really into something, right? So I remember taking this, I think I've mentioned this in a previous video, this course in college called There's a Will, There's a Way. Where there's a will, there's an A, right? And they said that you can pretty much concentrate for 11 minutes at a time. And so that's even less, but I would say I would cap it around 25 minutes, unless you're really into it. But even if you're really into it, timer goes off, you get up, you turn around, go get something to drink, come back, whatever it is, and then you're kind of a little bit more fresh for the task at hand. So it's all about tasks. I know it's not super sexy, it might even sound boring, but what's really going on in this, and this has been going on for years. We've had these alignments with the North Node and South Node, which is having to do with purpose. But the South Node is also what can distract you. So we're kind of, it's a tug of war. At every full moon, especially a lunar eclipse, there's a tug of war happening where you're being pulled in one direction by habit and in the other direction by purpose, okay? And so at each day, maybe you want to do this other very Virgoic thing. I got a Virgo moon, so I'm really going to tell you all the Virgo secrets here, which is to do a self-evaluation. Say, okay, here are the things I listed I wanted to get done today. What of those things, what did I do, and what did I resist? This is one of the things I work with my coaching clients, because we often don't see in those blind spots what we are resisting. So that's a thing to keep in mind, because Pisces, and also the South Node, it's all about illusion, distraction, escapism. It's our screens, right? It's the thing that it's kind of that soma, if you've read the book Brave New World, I believe it was, where that's the thing that keeps people kind of compliant, keeps the masses compliant, because they're all into their whatever it means. And for us, it's gadgetry most often, right? I got a kid, and we're in constant battle about the iPad, right? So those things, you want to limit your time, your kids' time on those. You want to kindly remind others that they can't have that in the meeting or whatever. Okay, so there's that. We are going through a big shift right now in the world. And most of you who are reading this, I usually do write. I have just started doing videos not too long ago, and I usually write. So I say, whoever's reading this, you are one of the people that I'm talking to. You've probably noticed that we're going through a big shift. All the outer planets are in new signs right now. And Pluto being in Aquarius is really about that idealism. It's about that I would say not necessarily utopian society, but the idea of a society governed and ruled by the people, where the people have power. And I actually do feel that we are coming into that. I know it seems a bit the opposite of that right now, but I think we needed to come through this very interesting time in the chapter of our country and of the world to get to that place where people claim their power and they step out and they do. Today I watched the Epstein victims speak. It was very powerful in Washington, D.C. Well, military planes were flying over, of course, but let's not be distracted by that. But just to watch people come out and say what they need to say and reclaim their power. And that is what's going on just across the board. There's also one of these aspects with major planets that I've been talking about for a while is Neptune and Saturn are conjunct. And that to me is the great decultification, right? And that has to do with anything that we've believed that is absolutely not true. That we either got sucked in emotionally, that can be in relationship, it can be in our work, or it can be in the larger sense of the word. So there is kind of a shattering of illusion going on right now. What we thought was going to be was not, and so what do we do now? So there's a big kind of shift and realization going on in the world. We've got Jupiter and the moon in this lunar eclipse in a wonderful trine. And so that to me, that's very lucky. There will be a lot of there will be some millionaires made. There will be some deals made and some ideas and technology and all kinds of wonderful expansion that will happen during this time. And some of it will be because there's been, at the other side of the coin, Mars and Jupiter are not in such wonderful aspect, but anything with Jupiter will bring luck. I always tell people that Jupiter almost can do no wrong. The one way it can do wrong is if you or a person has a problem with excess, needs too much of this, too much of that. There's excess, there's greed. That person can be in for a world of hurt when there's a lot of Jupiter energies. And so, you'll see a lot of that too. People that have been too greedy and have taken up too much and have taken from others, that sort of thing. You're going to see some. One of the things I love about an eclipse period is it sheds light where it was previously dark. So you can see a lot of that happening right now, but it's going to, it's going to slowly turn up, maybe not so slowly. The volume of that, the brightness of that is going to slowly come up during this September 7th lunar eclipse. And then between September 7th and the 21st, which is our solar eclipse, I want to just make sure I get that. Yes, it's the 21st. It's the day before the equinox. So this is a wonderful time anyway, but we're going to come full circle to that 29 degrees Virgo. That's the in degree of Virgo. And the Sabian symbol for that one is a person totally intent upon a task is deaf to any allurement. And I love this. The Sabian symbols, the astrological mandala was as I say, channeled in 1929, and so there's sometimes a bit of older language in there, but allurements, like what I was just talking about, the distractions. By that time, what we want to do is being kind of putting on our BS detectors a little bit more. I had a wonderful moment today where I had a realization around that, and someone else helped me kind of come to that realization. Oh yeah, that's BS, right? I knew that was BS, but emotionally I was being led a different way, right? And so we'll see that popping up again and again, and you just have to honor. You know what? The first thought is usually the right one. I was at a meeting this morning, and there was a little raffle where they say pick a number between 1 and 20. And the first number that comes in is almost always right for me. But then I second guess it almost immediately. I said, the number I picked was 16. And then my mind said 17. I go, no, this time it's going to be 16. And I did win the gift card for coffee. So that was a nice little thing to happen to me on today, Wednesday, which was a lucky day. But anyway, I digress once again. We are coming full circle with this within this month from the from a couple of weeks ago. that that new moon in Virgo to the second. You know, I talked about the blue moon, what a blue moon is. It's not an astrological phenomenon because the month that we have, the calendar month, is not astrological. It's not really of the moon, right? So month meaning of the moon, it's really not of the moon. It's just our convenient little 30-day thing. And we've never gotten this 360 degrees of the zodiac to 365-day thing quite straight, right? There's some mystery in there. So just the month, if they say, oh, there's 2 full moons in a month, it's a blue moon. No. That's not an astrological phenomenon. But this was definitely an astrological phenomenon, that we had the new moon in Virgo at 0 degrees, that very serious degree. Remember, the first and last, there is no cusp. People who say I'm born on the cusp, it's like nails on a chalkboard to me, because there is no cusp. It means you're very strongly that sign, whether it be at the first or last degree, especially that last degree, which is the degree of tears. It's a very serious degree, but it's also the degree of concentration, just like this Sabian symbol for the last degree of Virgo, of having that, having that task on your desk and focusing on that task to the elimination of all other distractions and allurements. I like that word, whatever that may mean for you, because Pisces will bring in, with this September 7th and for the next 2 weeks, you're going to get this parade of allurements. I'm going to tell you, these bright, shiny objects are just going to be whizzing by, and they're going to try to take your eye off the goal. Now, that's great during those particular times that you have scheduled to take your eye off the goal. Again, rest, recuperate, do everything you need to. Do those Pomodoros, those 25 minutes on at the most, and 5 or 6 minutes off. That's what I do. And some days my concentration is less, so I say, okay, it is 11 minutes today on, and then 5 minutes off. Okay, whatever. But don't be allured by the allurements unless you have made time to be allured by the allurements. And you've earned rewards, another Virgo thing, okay? So reward yourself for these little incremental things that happen, okay? Health really needs to be focused on right now. You need to make your appointments. I don't want to be your mother, but you need to make your doctor's appointments. You need to eat right. Virgo is the sign of eating right, okay? Your first thought is your best thought. The second thought might be more impulse, or, oh no, but it's the greed. The greed comes in on the second thought. But I really want the nachos. No. Your first thought was the Caesar salad, right? That's going to be the best thing for you, because that was your first thought. And that's what you're attuned to right now. You meditated in the morning. You grounded yourself. It's going to be fine. Yes, people are going to be running around with their heads cut off like chickens. And that's okay, because you're going to be grounded. Another Virgo Earth kind of principle. Ground yourself. Pisces, take some baths, be around water, be creative, but structure that in a Virgoic kind of way, because Virgo does rule the day. That's where the sun is, and we have this sort of moon coming full circle. Okay, I know I have more to say than I just said. But the good news is I'm going to be doing a podcast with Jill, and we always get in trouble talking about politics, and probably that'll happen too. I just mentioned it slightly today, but if you want a more interesting and fun little experience talking about these eclipses, you'll tune into that. And I'm just remembering something. Like and subscribe. That magical YouTube incantation or fame and fortune. I'm laughing because I have 3 of you watching right now. As you watch this, right? I have 3 whole, tens of subscribers. So, but do like and subscribe. And is there anything else I forgot to say? If I did, I will catch you up on one of the other 2 podcasts that I'm doing. Happy Eclipse. Don't freak. It's gonna be okay. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.